Okay, if you just joined us, you will see the poll. The poll is asking for you to decide if you want me to bring forward it 1 hour ahead back to 8 a.m. New York, or leave it at this time, which is now 9 a.m. New York because of the change of time. If you're on YouTube watching, you might not get to vote because you're not using the direct link. So welcome to all our YouTube viewers and welcome to everybody. We have 1 more minute and then we'll start. You guys can click. So far the 8 a.m. is winning, which means we will move it one. If we don't have more, we'll move it 1 hour ahead, which will be 8 a.m. New York, 4 p.m. Dubai, 3 p.m. Moscow. It's very strange. They have 54.48. They're supposed to have 52.48. I'm not sure how that works. 114 people. We have 129 people in the room. So the rest of you who haven't voted could still make a difference. The difference is only about 8 people, 7. So make your mind. Choose a time frame that suits you, and I'll close the voting. Let's get everybody to click. If you just joined, you can see there's a poll there. You need to click what time you want. It's either 8 a.m., which is an hour ahead of now, or 9 a.m., which is now. We have 119 people who voted, and we have 132 people in the room. Can everybody just click it very fast? Let's get everybody involved. Make your choice very fast. 121 voted. We still have 10 people left to vote. Just click and we'll close it. Still 10 people to vote. 10 people in the room. Please click which time you choose, and then we'll go. Come on, that wouldn't take you long to do. So we have some more. We'll stop the voting in 1 minute. Exactly 1 minute, I'll stop the voting. So for those who just joined, you have exactly 1 minute to click your vote. Still about 10 people. To 131 voted, we have 142. Still 10 people to vote. Just click your vote very fast and let's go. It will take you a second to do. 136. We still have 6 more people to vote. Now it's 9 a.m. New York. This time exactly is 9 a.m. New York. So click your vote. Let's go. Come on, guys. 10 people. Click and we go. Okay, I'll stop it here. End polling and let's go. Share results. So as you can see from the results, I hope all of you can see, 8 a.m. New York is the time. 73 people choose 8 a.m. New York, 69 choose 9 a.m., which is now. So next week, we will have it 1 hour ahead of this time, which would still be 8 a.m. New York, right? It will be 4 p.m. in Dubai. So it's not going to be now, but it's going to be 1 hour ahead. Remember that. It will be a new link. I'll post a new link. It will still be 8 a.m. New York when you register. And while we are in this, if you come here and you like what we do, if you enjoy these webinars, if you think they're helping you, I'm going to ask everybody to please help share the link. When I post it, you can take the link and share it anywhere you think there are traders that is legal, that is allowed to share it, right? We don't want you to spam it anywhere. We want you to know that you're in a group of traders where it's legal, or if you know a trader friend who is not being here, hasn't heard of us, share the link, please. And well, there's a lot of people who like this, right? So if you like it and you think you're getting some value, then help share the value, because a lot of people find us very late. And there's still millions of traders out there. If they if the analysis we collect was right, there's about 9 million online traders out there. You get it to 1 million of them. That'd be great. Right? We only have about 15,000 people looking at the videos right now. Let's get to more than that. Okay, traders, let's go. Let's start. For those of you who are on YouTube, welcome again, and let's start. So I have the CAD on today to start with, because the CAD has been interesting. And if you've been following me, you've been seeing how we've been very, very, well, I should say even from this moment coming down, how accurate we're getting the CAD, because it's behaving pretty nicely based on wave analysis. It's really behaving good. So what next on the CAD and the big picture? So I spent a lot of time over the weekend looking at the big picture of what this can do. And what we saw is that there's a potential for two things. Actually, the CAD can break out if they consolidate here. They can break out and make a new high, which means breaking this stop. If they consolidate here and break out of this structure, we will all be buying. And by consolidate, I mean a 4-hour consolidation. If the CAD comes down and break this low, we will have one more impulse here. The one more impulse here will be followed by a correction and one more impulse. That is the pattern we think they will go with if they go down before they make new highs. So as it stands right now, it is at a point where we are about to know whether we can have a very big trade to the upside or we can have a lot of big trades to the downside. So on the 4-hour, on the daily, for example, remember we wanted it to come back here, break this top, and then start the down move. And on the lower time frame, that's exactly what it's doing. They broke the top. You remember this here, go back up, break the top, come down now. So either they're going to come here, make a new low, go back up, make another new low, and then go up, or they're going to consolidate right in here and go up. So this week will tell us, will give us a sign of the bigger direction. On the 4-hour, you're all supposed to be in the sell. Because I think we made it very clear last week, we're only looking for sells. Any up move you buy, you take profit. Sells you can keep. So if you took the sell from this point, you should be keeping that one. Well, what if they start to consolidate here? Move your stops to, I wouldn't say put your stop here, because if they're going to consolidate to go down, I'd say keep your stop right, because if they're going to consolidate to go down, they will consolidate right here, and this would be your trade. So next week, if you see this consolidation here, you're looking for this and probably breaking through the bottom. But if you see consolidation, if this moves come back all the way to the top here, don't jump in immediately. If you get a buy setup, you can take it, take profit, because they will come back here and probably even make a more complex correction in here. If you see this here, we're totally going up. Right? So I know for most of you, that would be very difficult to identify which pattern it's making. I hope by next week, we'll be able to show you how that develops and which one it is going to make. Right? Because on the weekly, what we notice is there is a pattern developing in the weekly that could give you one more up, which we didn't see earlier, because on the daily, that's not very clear. So it's not that you have to know which it's going to be right now. You just need to know what this part is going to do. And that would be the answer as to which you're going to trade, what you're going to do. You're going to be buying CAD long-term, or you're going to be selling the CAD long-term. Right now, we're selling in the CAD because on the short term, this is what we expect it to do. And on the 1 hour, you will probably get another sell if they consolidated in here. So most of you may have seen this drop. We actually sold it. And the first thing I told my traders is you want to take the profit out of that if you took this trade. If you took that trade, keep it. And the reason we said that, because we knew this was going to go back up. Well, for many reasons, and one of them is this is not a corrective structure. And if they're going to go down, they have to make a corrective structure here. See? Once you understand patterns, you know that this is not going to go down, and you may be very correct in that. You can be wrong on two cases. If they're making an expanding flat or if they're making a running flat. And knowing when you can be wrong is very important, because then you look for those two patterns. Is it making those two patterns? And right now, no, it's not. See? So knowledge is the most important thing in trading. Knowing what you're looking for, knowing how to read the patterns. You every now and then will get one or two of them wrong. Not that the patterns are not working. You will get what you see, what you think you're seeing incorrect. And then you will correct yourself as you see the pattern develops. Like right now, which is the longer direction? First, we thought it was downside because we were looking at the daily and the 4-hour. And it's correct. Actually, those were giving us very good trades. But when I looked at the weekly and the monthly and the yearly too, I decided, you know what, this thing could actually go back one more if it is going to make this specific pattern, right? A specific pattern that we are looking at. It could still go back up. So what will give us the clue to that? Watch what happens in here for the next week or two. And for your trade, which is this week, wait for this to come here. And your trade would be this. They start to go down, sell in the break of this structure. They consolidate after they break this stop, consolidate somewhere here, buy it back to this stop and take profit out. Don't keep it, take profit because it's going to come back here and you will get another sell set up for this piece. And if we see 1, 2, 3 here, we are buying to the upside. Of course, we'll wait for the setup and then we will buy. If they come back all the way to the top here, we're going to go up, but not on this move up after a very long drawn out consolidation. So we will be trading within that range for a while, and then we'll be ready for the buy, which means all buys you keep, all sell you take profit. See, it's that easy. It's not very complex. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I got a question from one person who said, a friend of his has been trading for 6 years and said, you know what, this whole thing is a scam. That nobody can make money in the Forex. And it's impossible. And I was like, well, I know people who made money. Besides myself, I know people who are making money because we have about 60% of our traders making money. And only last week, I told you about one guy who doubled his account and he showed us. The reason we know is because he showed us, right? Right? And why would traders who have been in the market for 6 years decide that, well, this thing doesn't work? It's like this. Let me put it to you. If you didn't know that a certain language exists, and then somebody come to you and said, say, hey, have you heard of this language? Can you speak it? And you're like, no, I never heard of that. I don't think that's a language. That thing doesn't exist. You really can't speak that, right? Or, you heard of something that might sound out of the way that you have zero knowledge about. And you would say, well, think about when people were taught that, let's say before the man stepped foot on the moon, people were talking about that, right? And everybody was like, no, you're never going to get there. You can't go there. Think about before planes started flying, right? Or think about before you had a cell phone in your pocket. And you heard about people talking long distance with no connection, right? They're like, you have a piece of thing in there, just a square piece of thing in your hand, and you could talk to somebody. And 50 years back, you'd say, you guys are crazy. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. It just means that there wasn't a level of knowledge to make it happen, right? Now my 2-year son play with the iPad like I used to play with my little wood toys in my days, right? The guy's handling the iPad like it's nothing, like it's a little toy for him. And I was like, damn, right? It's the rate of which things are changing and knowledge is developing and you understand more things. So people who don't understand how market moves, don't understand how you have to read the market correctly. And, the knowledge develops. The knowledge didn't start with us. It started with way back in the days in the Chinese time when they were using, the candlestick theory and all of that. That was trying to read the market. And if you put all that accumulative knowledge to where you got to the point of the Dow theory and then the Elliott theory and then to what we are doing, which actually is not exactly the Elliott wave theory we are doing. Because we were identifying a lot of patterns that Elliott never identified. And they're there because I can show you. I've shown you a number of them, and I can show you some of them that that are there, but we haven't shown you yet. And how we read them. It's going to develop. And I don't think what we have done is exactly the end of it. I've told my traders that. You can still look into this, and you will better it. You will make it much better. So it's readable. It's understandable. And you can actually use that even as a small trader, not a long-term investor, but even as a small trader to make profit. Well, he was learning, but he was probably learning support and resistance for 6 years. The question, this I'm answering to a question somebody asked, what was he doing for 6 years? Trading support and resistance, trading pin bars, trading moving averages, trading, what else they teach you? All those crazy stuff, right? Nobody was telling you, look at the charts, don't do anything else. Focus on the charts. Focus on the patterns it creates, and then learn to trade them. Look for those repetitive patterns. And the way we're looking at them makes these patterns crystal clear. That's the whole difference. So can you do it? Absolutely. If 60% of the people in my group can do it, you can do it. And eventually we're trying to get all 100% to do it. That's not an easy task, but we're trying towards that. Right? So just to let you know, right, that there are a lot of myths out there that people, spread. Literally. There are a lot of them, but it's, you got to learn to filter it if you want to be a good trader. And that is why I say to everybody, for 1 year, if you plan to become a trader, take 1 year and don't buy any course anywhere. Take 1 year and gather all the free information you can gather. It's overwhelming, but you will learn a few things. And then you will be able to make an educated decision whether you want to be a trader or not. Right? That's what the whole process should be. If you just go and buy into a course, you're likely going to buy a crazy course. And you will learn nothing from it. And you'll waste your money. If you try to trade what you bought for $500 and try to learn to do that, practice that pin bar stuff, you lose your account and you probably lose another couple $1,000s over it. So if you're a new trader and you're watching this, take that advice. Don't do anything for a year. If you're trading for a long while, go back and look at everything. If you're in this room, help somebody get that message out there. That's the whole point. Let's start. Dollar index. We're still in the consolidation, and it did exactly what we expected to do, come and break this low. So we have an impulse, we have a correction here. We talked about that last week. We break the low. And when we break the low, we're expecting them to go back up. Not exactly from the point of where they break the low. I will always say, expect them to break the low because that makes a complete pattern. Not that the pattern is completed there, but as it breaks the low, it makes a pattern. This wave could still go lower. This wave here could still go a little lower before it goes back up. What are the chances it will go back up? There is a good 80% chance that will go back up. I don't see this here as a contracting flat. That means we're expecting them to go back up. It's easy. You don't have to start trading it to the upside. You have to wait for a setup that says, hey, look, this pattern means upside, and then you start buying. Right now, we don't have that. We don't have something that says it's going up now. So you don't buy it as yet. If this comes back only to this level and drop, you're going to get one more down. And then they can still go up. See? So what you're going to do for this week is we're going to expect this. If they make a small flag here and you get a sell setup, it's one shot, take the profit. That will not go down like that. It's not going to happen. It never happened. And it's rarely, that has to be some huge manipulation happening. Something really out of the way happened for that to happen. You don't see those very often. So what you would see is a small drop. But if they go back up, trade it to this level, and then move into break even or move into profit. Because from this level, they would either totally go up or come back to here. That is a pattern here that they need to negate. Is it a flat or is it actually changing the direction? I think that would be a flat. You'll get one more low, and then you'll get the upside. Right? It's like this piece. When they did this, they made one more low, and then they give you the upside. So it's pretty much the same thing, except this one would be a bigger flat. Can it be turning from here? I think they can. But when you look at the euro is saying, no, they might not just go exactly from there. You could go some sideways. So euro will be watching this. We're looking at this pattern now, which means this should come down here. And that means this one has to go up. The dollar index will go up slightly to make a flat because we are expecting euro to make one more up. And remember, it's the euro that moves the dollar index, not the dollar index that moves the euro, right? The dollar index is an index. It's a combination of a number of pairs and what they are doing. So what is reflected in the dollar index is what the euro and the other pairs in the dollar index is doing. So if you anticipate euro is going to go up, one more top, break that top, then come down, you will anticipate that the dollar index will go down one more. So I'm expecting this trade here to come back here. So if you get a break of this structure, sell it. Sell it only to the low. Follow it with a stop to make sure that whenever it's turning, you're out of that trade. Right? And then look for this to go up. So Watch this here. We're expecting this pattern to come here, go back up, and then we will see what happens at this point. From that point, they're either going to continue going or they're going to turn to the downside. Either is possible right now, depending on how you look at whatever is there. Right? Let's go pound. We're looking for one more downside here within this structure. It's already starting to happen. We're expecting this to come one more to this level, and then they'll, this is your immediate trade this week if you get a setup for a sell there. This is your immediate trade. They will either make one more up or break the structure. Breaking the structure means you want to stay with the trade because the correction becomes a longer term correction. If they go one more up, breaking the top means you will look for a buy setup. First, you have your down trade. You will get out of that trade. You will get into a trade to the upside, which means you'll make a flag here, look for that trade up. When it breaks the top, you take profit. They will come down. This is not long-term upside. Aussie. Last week, I told you we were looking at this as either an expanding flat or a correction for upside. We got the expanding flat. You got a sell. You're getting another sell. A deeper correction, another sell. Now we're expecting them to totally tag the low here in the 4 hour. Good, charts are coming up. So now we're expecting this to come all the way to this point. So the euro downside and the pound downside and the Aussie downside, all three looks very well. Which means dollar index one more up within that bigger flat pattern, right? So it's an easy one, yeah. If you can see the pattern, these are easy trades. Totally agree with you. So watch this trade here. When it comes to this level, move your stops, take profit. There is no guarantee that they're going to turn here. I most likely think they're going to come back here. I don't know where this arrow goes. They're going to come back there, and then we're going to be in this range for a while. So put it back to the 1 hour. Your most immediate trade now should be the downside. And then we'll see. I mean, just to remind you how pattern. Remember when we were here, we were saying we thought this could be a running flat that should go down. Let's remember, go back and look at those webinars. You will see how these patterns really work. Right? New Zealand. New Zealand is amazing. Good. It's making this big correction, but within this structure, we still think that this is not the downside. This is more of a bigger correction for upside. So short-term, New Zealand will probably come. I don't think New Zealand will tag this low. It can, but we're not expecting it to tag the low because they broke the low already. So we're looking at this as some kind of a flat in the middle here. And this should go back and tag the top. So New Zealand to the downside is there. There's a short trade to the downside, but not as much as the Euro, for example. Euro downside is a bigger one than New Zealand. And then they will all have to go back up. New Zealand to break this top, unlikely this top. If you get the New Zealand trade to the upside this week, you definitely want to take it. The short downside, I don't know if you're going to get it, but if you do, take profit. Right? There is a short downside here. This one is not going to be easy to trade to the downside. I wouldn't advise you to trade it if you're new in trading, right? But watch this, and then we're going to look for the upside. CAD, well, I just explained CAD and showed you, right? So two things you're going to look for. If they just consolidate within this range, on the break of this, you can sell. If they go back here and make a correction, look for this stop. So when they get to this stop, either they go down back and give you a sell here, or they consolidate and give you a buy here. You just got to wait for one out of those two. Swiss. Swiss is going sideways. In the bigger picture, we still think they're going to go back to the top now. It's almost more convincing that they're going to finish this move here we're looking for to the top there because they're just going sideways. And I wouldn't be surprised if they keep doing that. Pulsing to the top. So any buy or sell setup has to be very short term, and they have to be based on the you see a setup for a buy or sell. So if you sold there, you take profit. If you get a buy setup here, if this gives you a buy setup somewhere here, when it comes to this top, take profit because they're going to come back down. They're pretty much going to go sideways until they get to the top. Oh yeah, I'll change it. Sorry, yellow. How about the yellow color? Yen. Put it to the daily. And the same thing in the yen. This one made this small flat we expect. I hope all of you got that small trade to the downside. And I hope you're moving your stops or taking profit because it's not going to go very far. We're still within this corrective structure. So this could go a little more, but watch for this trade. And if you get a buy in the yen, you probably want to take the buy because the buy on the yen could be very strong, right? The buy on the yen could be strong and it could be longer term because we are expecting them to repeat that move up when the buy starts. So go back to the 4 hour. You got a short one. You remember that was a trade call for a sell. It was a trade call in our room as well for a sell. And if you sold, you're doing good. There's another small sell setup here. If you get this trade and it goes, take profit. Remember, the lower they go, the more risky this trade becomes for a sell. The upside would be good. When you get the sharp impulse correction, you will buy again, right? So every trade to the downside, make sure you get it to break even or take profit, right? So I hope so. I hope this week it turns to the upside, and that is very possible, either this week. But if you're taking any sell setups, you got to be taking profit or move your stops to break even. They become very risky. Silver is in a big sideways now. So this is what we have in silver. And if this is doing anything we expect it to do, we're expecting them to make one more down. But when we have a pattern that looks like this, most time these patterns break to the upside. So silver is in that problem. If we're looking at the chart like this, then this one has to do exactly that. But because of the pattern they're making, it could be that this is a short trade. This was the correction. This is your final wave down. And this is starting an upside. And the reason we cannot confirm that is because this one is not here. It's not as long as this. If it was that, we'd confirm the upside. It would be a confirmed upside. But because they're not doing that and they're actually going more like a sideways move, if you look at the pattern like this, both sides possible. I'm still inclined to believe the downside is the one we're going to get, that this one is going to come down here. So you need to wait for a sell setup somewhere here or somewhere here and then take that trade down. For the upside, I would let it break, let it pull back, and only then we will take buys. So inside of this here, do not trade it because it's very risky. And there could be a lot of spikes in there because eventually that will become a pattern. But how complex it will be, we don't know. Just ignore the trolls on YouTube. I don't want to go there. I'm not even looking at it. There are going to be people who are just trolling. They're probably trading pin bars or they're supporting or they're selling signals. And they know I'm against all of that. So you guys just ignore them. If you're on YouTube and there are two trolls, just ignore them. Just don't give them the attention. They're not worth it. Those are people who don't have a life, you know. They're coming here to just do crazy stuff. Ignore whatever they're saying. You're smarter than that, right? So just leave them alone. I can't see the YouTube, I'm not looking at it and I'm not gonna monitor it. If I think it's getting a nuisance, I'll just stop keeping it live on YouTube. But there's no reason for you to worry with them. Just ignore them. That's their life, right? It's a reflection of who they are. You know better, just ignore them and continue watching the webinar. I guess it's one of those guys I probably criticized or thrown out. Oh, one of them I kicked out of my group. He's probably there trying to, you know, make his living by trolling. I don't know if that will work for him. Let's go. So watch this pattern here. This is the gold. Yep. Watch the pattern in the gold. You know, these guys, they just throw you off when they do all this crazy stuff. We're seeing this pattern here. So we're thinking we're seeing a very similar pattern here for upside. But the same thing like the silver. This could come back here, then go. It's looking more upside, but right now it looks like they can come back here. So if you're not in the buy, some of my traders, and if you're not in the buy, wait for them to break out and wait for a pullback or a consolidation here before you buy. And if they're going to go down, you wait for a correction, you wait for an impulse, a correction, and then you sell. So either way, you're not going to get a trade on gold very fast. right? So keep your questions for the end, right? I will answer them. Ignore the trolls and keep your questions to the end. I'll answer your questions at the end. We always do. Euro Oz. Euro Oz is still in that pattern. It came down very nice. We thought we were going to have a consolidation here, if you remember. And then they broke the top. So what is the Euro Oz doing? Right now, I think we're repeating what happened in this piece, which is they're, instead of giving us the consolidation and go down, they're making a running flat. So this piece is going to crawl its way up like that. And then you're going to get one more like this. And we're going to go up. So keep your eyes on that. If they start to make something like this, where you're seeing this mess in the middle, we will look for a running flat. If they're going to reverse it, which means if it's this is the end of the move, and it's going to come down, then you would wait until you get another sharp move like this. You'll wait for that to make a correction, and then you'll sell, which is what you were doing here, waiting for a correction and then sell. Right? Same thing. You wait for that setup to sell because of the running flats. And there are a lot of running flats in the market that really wipe people out. Right? So keep your eyes on this. Euro New Zealand, this one is coming down, and we were expecting it to come down more. I'm expecting this here to come back to this level. So you will look for sell setups here. But once it gets here, take profit because they can continue to go up. If they break the structure, you will sell again, but that will be a second trade, not the same trade you take. So if you got into that trade, I hope you took a break even, because don't keep those trades, especially when you're in the consolidation. I'm expecting this to come back here, and then we will see if we make another one up. So short term, you probably get this trade. Euro CAD. It came down as we expected. Remember, we said these two sharp waves are never all the correction. We were expecting that to come back. Came back. So the only question is the upside ready now? You got a nice flat here. Or are they going to go down some more before they go? Why? This is a running flat. If they come lower, that's an expanding flat. Both of those patterns exist. So what is your setup for the buy? Wait, you don't have a buy setup. Let this move make an up move and make a flat like that. Let this move go up like that, make a flat here, smaller correction, and then you look for that trade. If you get a correction in there, you buy. If they fall to the downside, you may miss the sell because it's going to be sharp, but you look for the buy once they break the low, because it is going to make one more up. This pattern is well known. You've seen it a million times before. If you're a trader and you haven't seen that pattern, you need to start learning patterns and stop doing what you're doing. Here is a good example of one. This is a regular one. See, this is a regular flat without breaking the top. This always goes back up. This could come here and go back up, or it could go back from right there. So there is one more up. See, you don't have to go far to see the patterns. Let's go back. Euro Swiss. One more up. You can see this pattern very clearly. Wait for a correction in here in the 1 hour. Wait for this correction and then look for a buy setup. If they make a correction here, go for the buy setup. They can come one more down here, but that would not be a good sell for you, because this would be the point they're turning from. This would definitely turn. All right, so there is one more up here. Euro Yen. If it goes down, you will look for setup, but I don't see the downside. Euro Yen, more downside. Bigger picture, we're still to confirm that this is totally downside, but I think we can also already confirm that. We haven't had a really deep correction, but I think we can already confirm that they're probably going to go downside totally. Look for sell setups. This will be moving mostly because of the euro, right? So how far will it go before they go back up? Remember this one, you're going to look for something like that here while you're about to do that. What we haven't seen is that those deep corrections as yet. We have a very small one here. So if you're selling, just be careful, because they will have to make one of that deep correction before they go down finally, right? So remember, this one was going to go down, right? So it's still going down very nicely. So keep your eyes on this. There's a nice sell setup here right now on this. I would take all the sells as short-term trades until the deeper correction happens. So you can take the trade, take profit, take every small trade you get and take profit off of them, and then wait for the deeper correction. We were looking at the expanding flat, but I think by now we're excluding it because it's going down too much. So we don't think that that is making an expanding flat anymore. We'll see, but I don't think so. By next week, we'll know. Euro-Pound came a little lower than I expected. We expect this to turn somewhere here and go back up, but it came and they break the low again. And that has not really changed anything much in it, right? If you notice, we haven't changed. We're still going sideways, pretty much, right? So if they still go sideways, this is your impulse. This will still have to go down. The only problem is I don't think this pattern is over, right? It depends on how you look at that pattern, but I cannot see it as a complete pattern as yet. Right? We're not getting enough proof that that is a complete pattern. It has a lot of waves in it. We analyze it. We try to fit all the possible patterns in it, not looking complete, right? So what I'm thinking it's going to do is that they will probably still make one more up and then come down. So you look for that possibility. You go on the 1 hour, you wait for flags, and if they give you it, you buy, which is why we think they're going to make, once they broke the low, they're going to go back up one more. So I would wait for this to break out. Let it break out of this structure, make corrections, then you buy it. If they start to make a correction right in here and drop, sell it, right? So sell it and then we'll go. It's more of a big correction in there and then we'll see. But I'm not even gonna go to look. We break these patterns up mostly in our trading room. I don't think we need to do that here. So, you know, we will see what this piece is. It still is a B wave. It's one of those complex B wave patterns. We've seen a lot of them, and they take a long while to happen. So just give it time, wait. But if it does make one more up to the top here, we're definitely looking for sell setups long term, right? I closed my long-term sell at this point after I realized this was going to go up one more. I thought this was the one that was going to break the top. So I got out right about the same place where it is right now. Pound Oz. Pound Oz made one more high here. We're looking at this to be a long-term kind of a running flat. You got 1, 2, 3. They'll probably come back here and make one more up because we're looking for this as a running flat. So on the 1 hour, we're looking for if they're going to give us a sell setup here. And I think that is about to happen. I'll be very careful of any buys in this area here, right? So if you take a buy, they may just do this. And we have seen when they started to do that, that you get that trade, right? You get this trade here. You've seen it in the Pound Yen, you've seen it in the Euro Yen, you've seen it in a lot of trades. So when they're doing that at the top, they don't try to buy into them. Wait for the sell setup. You get a better trade that way. Pound New Zealand, pretty much coming down now. You can already see that. And two things we're expecting to happen here is one, it's going to come down all the way back to this level and then make one more up, or they're going to come down totally. So we've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3. I think that is clear. This is your impulse. We're looking for another impulse here. Now, the question is always, is this one the start of the downside? Right? You're always wanting to know if that is the start of the downside, right? Exactly. Can they go make another high and then come down back? Well, if you're in a sell, let's say you're already in the sell, just move that to break even. If you're not in the sell, watch for this one. Take that sell and then put it to break even. So what if they come here and then go back, tag the top? You get a break-even trade and look for your sell setup from there. You don't have to get this trade because, you know, you might not see it coming. And then you're going to go down. What's the question in YouTube? Somebody just posted on YouTube a question mark. What's that? Pound CAD. All right. Pound CAD, we're getting a correction. The YouTube live is off. Can somebody please confirm if it's off? We're still getting this trade, and that means you're going to get one more up. Right? If they keep doing this, you're going to get one more up. All of you know that, and you've seen this pattern. Right? So tell the person, Harvey, you need to join again if you're not seeing it live. Right? So this, we're looking for one more up. You're going to probably get some short-term sells, but it's long-term one more up. Pound Swiss. Pound Swiss, we made the flat we were expecting. We got a sharp move down. We got 1, 2, 3. This will at least give you one more down here. So the trade this week will be one more down here, and probably, if you're lucky, that's the start of the bigger downside, right? If you're lucky, that one will come back all the way to this low. So look for this trade if you get it. Wait for a sell setup, take it. The worst case scenario is you'll get about 100 or so pips out of it. So wait for a flag here, take that trade, put the stop above here, and then look for this when they break the low, put it to break even. Either put the stop here because it's either going to go down or they'll make a 1, 2, 3 here, go back one more up, tag the top, and then come down. Not necessarily they have to tag the top this time. This is one of them where they don't have to tag the top, right? Pound Yen looks downside now. We were expecting one more up, and they were going up very nicely, but then they made that. Remember I showed you last week, when they make a pattern like that at the top there, expect the downside. Well, we're getting the downside, and it looks like if it breaks this, take this trade. This is a nice trade, actually. If they break that structure, that's a nice trade because you're going to get a long-term downside, right? At least back to this level. Not all the way to where that chart is showing, but back to this level. Right, because this whole structure here might become a bigger 1, 2, 3 structure. That could go back up one more. So if you get this trade, we'll take that trade and see how far it goes. It's setting up for a sell. Let me put it in a 4 hour. You've got a nice big corrective structure in there. And on the 1 hour, you're making a flag in the middle here. Right? You can see that there's a flag setting up here. If they break, take that trade. Right? So let's go with that one. Aussie CAD. I'll show you guys the Aussie CAD on the daily because there's a very, very interesting trade here that you can take very long term. See? We're going to trade the Aussie CAD down to this level, but it's a very long-term trade, which means you'll have to take it and stay with it for a very long time. So what we were expecting, we made this forecast, I think, sometime back in our trading room when it was at the bottom here. I don't know if any one of you remember. We made that forecast that it's going to come here and then turn because we were looking at this pattern. And then we said this will have to go down. And we were in the trade, but this sharp move here actually took us out. Right? And we never got in back because it did never really give a very nice pattern to buy into. But then they turned. So what you're going to wait for is you're going to wait for a 4-hour consolidation. Don't run this. This might take a whole week to happen. But once they make that 4-hour consolidation, we will look for a trade from here or a trade from here, and we'll all keep that trade for this with a stop just above here. This would be your risk, and that would be your reward. And if you get that trade going, you will add and you will add and you will add and you'll add more trades to it. So this could be one of the trades we'll follow in every week. We'll trade it in the long term, so you need to follow it only on a weekly basis. So wait for that correction. Let's see if we get that correction. This would be a wonderful trade, right? No, it's a bigger flat than that. And this is the whole flat in the weekly. It's not a running flat. It's a big regular flat in the weekly. Oh, yeah, you've got a big running flat here, I think, or expanding one. That is this piece here. If you're talking about that piece, yeah, that's a running flat. So it started with this one here. We made that flat, and we were expecting this to come back here. So you're going to have a big regular flat like this. See? And this is the trade we were expecting to get. So wait for the 4-hour, and I'll help all of you get it. We'll all follow it, right? We'll actually follow it on a day, every weekly basis in here. I think that would be interesting to trade together. So do this only in the long term because we tried trading this thing in short term and you get break-even trades. You get the right direction, you get in the trade properly, and then they make a pullback, take you out, go. Well, those pullbacks are part of the structure, but they're deeper than normal pullbacks you would expect. The patterns are same, they're very similar, except they're more, the corrections within each pattern is more complex. And because of that, they end up, you move your stop and they end up taking you out and then go. And you will always move your stop because your number one priority as a trader is to protect your capital, not to protect the trade you're in, right? So watch this. Aussie Chief. We're in this sideways and definitely looks a little more downside before they go. So we'll just watch this pattern. I don't think it's over. I think this one will probably come here and we might get one more of this up. So let this piece finish what it's doing. And if you get a trade set up, take it, short-term trade to the bottom, and then we'll be looking for the upside. Let's see if we have anything for a sell setup. You might get a sell setup here if they make a correction. They did make one here. But if they make another correction here, you can get one more sell setup. It's going to be short-term sell, take profit because they're going to start to go up very soon. Aussie, New Zealand. Downside, and this one is going to go down, but we never managed to get a good trade on this. Every time we get a good trade, it comes back, take you out for break even. And it is about to complete the daily corrective structure we're looking at, right? So you'll remember from the top here, we said, watch this correction. They will have to come back here. And we still think they're going to come in a three-wave structure. 1, 2, 3. So we're getting the first wave down. At some point here, they will start to make a move up. Right? It might be like this as a regular flat. It might be running. It could be anything. And then we're going to get a final one down here before the big move up. So as you can see, we're going to be in a long-term sideways move. Rarely you actually find them. Sorry for that. Excuse me. Still have a little cold. Rarely you're going to find them go down as a sharp wave. They can do that. This could go down as a sharp wave and break the low and then turn. But that's rare. You don't see that very often. Most times you will actually find them make 1, 2, 3. So don't try to trade this for now unless we start seeing very clear structure. It's a lot of mess in here actually, and we expect this to go down. So if you sold it, move to positive and leave it. If you don't, just stay out of it. Aussie Yen still going down, and you may get some more downside. And we still cannot confirm the longer term downside because this structure is still not very clear. So there is a very good chance that if they could go back up, retest the top and then go down. If they don't, then to confirm the longer term trade, we'll wait for a correction like this. We get a correction like that, we'll confirm long-term downside. So we need that. Until now, any trade you take short-term, sell, buys, short-term, anyone. It's short-term. Like if you took that trade, take profit. Don't keep the trade. If you took this trade here, move your stop to break even. As soon as it goes a little more, move your stop to break even or take profit. It starts to correct, make another one, sell it, take profit. You're going to get this trade up very soon. New Zealandian, same thing. Very similar structure. We broke the low. Looks like they're starting the upside, they're dropping again. So the same thing will happen. Any sell, take profit. When they start to make such deep correction, they eventually turn and go up. They eventually do this turn and start the upside. When you see something like this happening at the bottom there, you know they're going to turn, right? So this one is about to turn, and then you'll get one more up, one more big move to retest the top. New Zealand CAD broke out and come right back in, right? See this? These are very tough charts to trade. They give you the trade, and then they come right back in. You got a break-even trade. It looks like a short-term up here, and then they're going to go down back. So probably you don't want to take that buy. Definitely don't want to take that buy. Not in this pattern that they have here. I don't think that's the end of this structure of the downside. Probably just going to make some more consolidation and go down back. New Zealand Swiss, this one actually went perfectly to the top there. You got a perfect flat here. 1, 2, 3, that's the perfect one. Wait for a correction here and sell. And expect it to break out. Keep your questions for the end of the webinar. I'll answer all of them. Let's finish the webinar. CAD Yen. You can see this pattern. I think this is clear. One more sell here, and then you're looking for buy. You should take this sell. Very rarely, but sometimes they break through the bottom. Make a deeper move before they go. So take that sell, but watch this pattern. When we start to see these patterns, we know they're turning. We start to see those patterns, we know they're turning, right? At some point, they're going to turn to the upside. Swiss Yen, same pattern here. When you see those patterns, you know they're turning. I wouldn't advise to sell this at the bottom here. They had a very similar structure here. This one was an expanding one. First, we thought we were going to get the expanding one here. But instead, they make a contracting one. Both of those patterns are ending to the upside. Just wait for it to finish. It's not finished as yet, right? Kind of like going sideways. You added, this would be more of a big sideways move here. Come one more down, still look upside. They have to break out of these structures before you become a long-term seller. In any case, I think it's going to be very short-term. CAD Swiss, you might be getting a turn here. It's not very convincing. You can see this is not going up very convincing, so I say we wait. It's not a complete flat as yet, so we wait. We stay out of it. Copper. Copper was a surprise. It did break down. We didn't think they were going to break down completely, but they break down. We thought break this low and then turn, but it break down. So right now, one more upside is possible. The question is from where? They still have one more upside to complete this pattern. Let me just show you that so that you can learn a few things about pattern and just follow. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Downside and then up. Guess what? Downside and then up. See? It's easy? Come on, it's not easy. That's so easy, right? You just have to look backward and say, hey, they're doing the same thing they did the last time before they go up, right? Same consolidation, same pattern. They're not even changing the pattern for you. They're making your life very easy. They're not complicating. Look at this going down and look at this one going down. They're actually identical. See how easy this thing is? Just got to learn to do it the right way. And if you do, you will start to see it very clearly. Now, what are the chances they don't repeat this pattern? There is a 10% chance, but in that case, would you care about the 10% or would you care about if they do this again? If they repeat what they did here and they make that move and you know about it and you're prepared for it, you're ready for it, and they actually start to make that move. That is the one you trade. If they don't, wait until you see what they're doing. That's the whole point about these patterns. If they are going to make the pattern you anticipated because you know it in advance and they're doing it and you have all the setups for the trade, you have an amazing trade. If they don't, you're not in the trade. Just leave it to the trolls to come and say, hey, he's wrong about it. Good, yeah, I'm wrong about it, so what? I'm not in the trade. I'm waiting for my trade, which is if they repeat this, I'll do it. And until I see something that shows me a longer-term downside trade, I'm not going to be trading it to the downside because it's short-term. Well, not that I wouldn't, but I could take a very short trade, take profit out, and get out of the trade. See, that's the whole point. You're going for the trade that has the higher probability of doing what you expect the chart to do. And very often they do that. 80 to 90% of the time, they do exactly that. See? So if you understand it, it's like, if you understand what time of the year you have to, I don't know, you have to go to beaches, right? When you go to beaches, not in winter, in summer, right? If you understand what time of the year you have to be here in the world, it's a pattern. There is a pattern, right? Come May month, I'm leaving Dubai. There's a reason for that because there is a pattern. Come May month, it gets too darn hot in here for me. So I leave, right? I come back here in September. You see? There is a pattern to everything in the world. Actually, I posted, as one guy said, he likes to go off and rant. These rants are education for you. They're not just based. It's showing you how you should learn it and convincing you that if you really learn this, you will understand it. Somebody posted a video on YouTube showing the universe. And if you look at it, there are actually clearly defined patterns of how it's working, how it's structured, how the universe is structured. I'm talking about a huge universe. If one of my traders has that video, please post it for those who haven't seen it. If you guys, any one of you get it, grab it and post it to those who haven't. It's interesting. So I posted this weekend and I said, guys, maybe we look at these patterns. I was kidding, of course, right? So one of you guys grab it and show it. It shows you that we're like a tiny dust in the universe. The earth is like a dust, tiny spot, microscopic in the universe. You can't see it if you look at the universe. But it's so structured, it's so developed. It's showing you patterns that nature develops. And it's the same thing here. Everything has a pattern. Your life has a pattern. The trolls have patterns. You think they don't? Look at what they write. They repeat the same thing over and over all the time. Right? That is because their brain is incapable of thinking of new things. Right? Their brain, they're not even using the 2% that we normally use. They just use 0.2% of their brain. So they don't have to, they just keep repeating the same thing over and over, right? He's a scam, he's selling webinar, he doesn't, you know, those very simple things we all know. It's just a pattern, you know them, you understand it. So your thing is what you want to become, right? Understand that patterns work for you. And if you understand that, you're in the right way. US oil, just as we predicted all the patterns, exactly. It's doing just exactly what we said last week. Watch for the upside. The upside may or may not break that top. Either way, it will be the same pattern. After a break, if it breaks that pattern, if you're in the buy now, you need to move your stop very closely, because if they break this pattern, there's a very high probability they will come back here. Which one of you haven't seen a structure like that as yet before they go up? Right? See? So if you're in the buy, you don't have to come out of the buy. You just have to follow it, because you don't know that this wouldn't be a running flat. See that? The knowledge of knowing that that might be a running flat means you said, hey, I'll stay in until they take me out and say that's a run, that's not a run, that's not a running flat. And then I'll sell it, and then we look to buy back again. Same one on this one. It's the very same pattern. Did we predict these patterns? Of course we did. Did we know that exactly that they will do? Well, if they're repeating what they repeated in the charts previously, there's a 90% chance. And that is the chance. It's not about we doing magic. It's about us studying the charts, understanding how it behaves, and say, hey, this is what it's going to do. I would not advise buying at the top there anymore. I'll say wait for the sell stop, or wait until they convince you that they're totally going up much more, which means this has to come back here. And now you can buy. If you're buying on top of there to come here, you're risking your money for no good reasons. The risk to reward is no good. The risk is higher. You know, you don't want those trades. Natural gas going down to break the low? Yes, it is. They started this. We said, not looking very convincing, but we'll keep an eye on it. And then we saw the downside, and we're like, yeah, they're going to go down and then go back up. Look at this pattern. This is, all of you can recognize this pattern. There isn't a single one of you in here can't see that pattern and don't know where it's going to go, right? You see the impulse done. You see the 1, 2, 3 correction. You saw this next impulse done. Guess what's going to happen from somewhere in here? Take a wild guess. Question is, what would have to happen in the world for this to happen? That's a question I think people who have problem with patterns, they're always, hey, you can't focus what's going to happen in the world. You don't know what Trump is going to say. You don't know what, what's going to happen in the European Union. You don't know what's going to happen in the Gulf. You don't know what's going to happen with oil and all of it. And here's my answer to that. I don't need to. None of us know. You don't know. I don't know. Neither does Trump knows what's going to happen. None of us knows what's going to happen. And we don't need to know what's going to happen to predict where the market could go. Because when that time comes, something will happen. Something enough to make the market goes up will happen. What would that something be? What do I care? How do I know something is going to happen for that to happen? Well, I look at how the chart behaved previously. And what the chart told us previously is that when you see this behavioral pattern in the chart, something is already happening. You don't need to know what's going to happen here. That is already happening. What you don't know and what Trump doesn't know, or what none of us knows in here, is already happening. It's like if you keep smoking for 20 years, I don't have to guess what's going to happen to your lungs. It's already happening. I know what's going to happen to your lungs because it's already happening for the last 20 years you're smoking. It's the same thing here. What is happening in the chart is a reflection of what the market is already doing. And when the market already does something like that, this is how it reacts. This is what happens as a result of what they're doing in here. This started not from here, not in this piece, not from here. It started from that move down and this move up. Once we see those structures and we see them start doing this, you understand what is the next move. You understand how that market is going to behave. The market movers, the market makers, the big players in the market are already doing something. And that something that we're doing will result in this move up. And they're already doing it. That's the whole point. You don't have to wait for this news event to move the market. They're already doing that. They're just waiting for the right time to do it. When the right time happens, they're going to spike it up And then you were left without anything because you have no clue. You were selling at the bottom here. You thought this is going to go down. You heard in the news that oil price is dropping and, oh, they're going to drop the oil price. And then you look at it and said, hey, what just happened? They were supposed to drop it, but now it's going up. Right? See that? So watch it. S&P 500. Anything new to anybody here? Consolidating, and it's going to drop. By the way, how many of you got this trade? That's a trade call we made in this room here. If you got the trade, just put a Y. Nobody got that trade? Like, come on, please. Nobody, you're here every week following me and you didn't see me say, ready for this downside, right? Be prepared for it. See, that's the whole point. Do I know what the S&P 500 is going to do? Do I know the insights of what is going to happen? Did anybody call me and say, hey, watch out, you know, we're going to drop the S&P 500? I think somebody said the news event. I was telling my traders that really freaked me out. When they started to drop here, I think it was this drop. One of the news guys, I think it was an MSNBC or something, no, CNBC, I think, said, oh, Trump fired somebody or something they were doing and they were expecting a shakeup in the. I was like, no. I saw that shakeup come before you even imagine it's coming because I know this was going to go down. And it had nothing to do with the shakeup, right? Right? Yeah, it's like he called me secretly and said, hey, I heard you want the S&P to go down. I'll just fire somebody right now, right? So that it could go down. That's a crazy thing that you hear on TV, right? That it's going down because something happened somewhere. No. What this move was already planned way before it happened, before Trump even think of firing anybody. It was already here. It was planned in here. And whether Trump fires somebody or not, it would happen. That's the thing. You have to understand what they are going to do by what they did already, right? If you understand what they're doing now, you will know what will happen tomorrow. That is what pattern is about. It's not about the patterns you see. It's not about a triangle or a flat. It's about what are they doing when that specific pattern happens. What is really going on behind the scenes? And then you start to figure out it. DAX, pretty much the same thing. This is not a very easy pattern, right? This one, when you see these triangular patterns, they go both ways, I told you, right? They either come down or go up. So this one is complicated. But when you see this, you start thinking expanding or running flats. So at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if this go back up. I don't think this is the running flat. I think there is more correction in it, but we will see. If you're going to trade this, if you're already trading it from the top here, you see that sell set up there, you're doing well. Wait for a flag and sell. If they reverse it, wait for them to break the top, then look for sell setups. Let's go. Nifty. Coming down, right? Nifty coming down. That was a flat there. We didn't like that flat. They go back up, they make a running flat, and now they're coming. So you can sell Nifty in any correction. It will make a correction. They always do. If they make a correction here, you sell. Wait for the correction, and then you sell. Let's go with Bitcoins. We have a lot of people following us now who trade Bitcoin. And you see, we thought this is going to go up. It's going up. And you actually have it. You're getting a very nice setup here that might consolidate somewhere. And then you can get one more. Look at this consolidation. 1, 2, 3. You're getting 1. You're getting 2. You're going to get 3. See that? So this would be a nice trade here for those of you. By the way, I don't think this one is going to break. It might break this top, but it's not going to break the bigger top. You're just in a big consolidation here, right? So this would be your A wave down. You're still in your B wave. So this might come up here, break this top. I don't think they're going to break this top. So don't get too enthusiastic about this thing going to 100,000. You can come down back from there. We don't know what this pattern will be in here, but it's going to be a B wave and you'll probably come back here. See? So there is a nice buy setup here for you if you're, now the trolls who used to troll me on Bitcoin, right, will be happy with me because I make an up call for them. They're always happy when you say, hey, it's going up. When you tell them from 20, it's going to come down to 9, they were killing me, right? And now look where it came to, hey, I was wrong on that, but guys. I thought from here it's going to come back to about 9,000. And look where it was. Man, I missed that. I missed it by a whole 4,000, right? By a whole 3,000. So, that's the thing. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not trading Bitcoin. I'm not interested in promoting Bitcoin, right? I'm telling you what the structure is telling me it's going to do. That's all. And if you follow that, you will understand it. You wouldn't be losing your money so easily. See, this one is going to go up to watch for buy setups. This buy setup didn't go very well for you, which means you didn't get a profit. You probably took it off for break even, or if you can still take it off for break even if you're trying to buy this. It turns out to be a bigger correction here. It's still a buy. I don't think this is going down very much more. I still think they're going to probably go back up, consolidate and go back up to about. Let's see what the bigger picture say. This will be the first one to the upside. They might still come like this. So look for that buy setup. And the same thing on Ripple. I wouldn't do all of these guys. Ripple, you can trade Ripple back to this stuff. That's for sure. Because we're looking at this as a running flat. I think Ripple is going to come here. And it could still go down. Be careful. If they make an expanding flat, they can come all the way to this level and then go down. So the buy of Ripple is a good idea right now. Looks like a very good idea. Wait for the good setup. Do we have a setup for a buy? Let me see. Maybe not as yet. They're making a bigger correction here. And this bigger correction should drop down a little. This piece should come down here first, then go. So you're going to get something like this and then go up. You can buy in the break of this. That'll give you a good risk to reward trade. See? Okay, we'll stop there. We wouldn't do any more charts because time is going to run out, already an hour. So I promise to take some questions. I'll still keep the questions. I'll leave the YouTube on for a while more and then we'll take it off. Do you forecast expanding flats? If yes, are they less or more reliable than running and contracted? No, we don't forecast any other flat except we always start our forecast with a very simple flat, regular flat. And as that develops, we don't change the forecast, but we change how we look at the pattern. Depends on how it's going to develop, because it can be much more complex than a simple three wave. We never try to put the forecast that is a complex pattern. That's a waste of time. You don't have to do that. Always start with a simple one, and then you can see, well, okay, it's becoming more complex, and that is normal. If you're a trader, that's normal. If you're, anything else. What are you thinking about pound yen? Maybe I don't look at numbers. That's a question I'm not even going to answer. I would have to read that. Ask more simple. Not ask questions more contained to what we do, not specific on one pair what it's going to do. Please confirm. And then with numbers, I have to go and look at all of those. Now we will not. Please confirm. It makes sense to learn the standard pattern before taking your course. You have to at least read the book before taking the course. It makes sense because it's going to make your work much easier. Then you'll be able to do it. When does your next course start? Tomorrow. It's starting tomorrow. Now, for that question, I get a lot of questions. I had about 3 of that question before I came into this server. When can I join your course? You can join the course anytime. It doesn't matter that we are starting tomorrow. You can join. If you join in and you're late to start tomorrow, the class sessions are recorded. You will still have time in the practice session. Remember, it's 5 weeks. So you can join anytime. If you didn't get to complete the course this time, you completed the next time. You will still have all the materials to study. You can complete the practice the next time. It doesn't matter. It's a single payment, and you finish the course, and then we give you lifetime access complimentary. Let me make this clear. It's complimentary because when I kick your ass out of the group for behaving bad, you don't come back and tell me, hey, you promised me lifetime. Yes, you get lifetime if you behave good. Only 5 people out of 700 I've kicked out. So don't worry. If you're going to come here to learn and not to steal, you will stay in the group. But if you're coming here to steal, don't come because we'll find you and we'll kick you out. That's the whole point. Five people we thrown out, and mostly, well, not all of them for that same reason. Some of them for bad behavior, but pretty much that. So it's complimentary. You get it, and we don't even try to stop it unless you do something really wrong in the group. So 5 out of 700, I think you are not one of those people, 5 people. So you can join anytime, and the earlier you join, the better it is. Here's why. You're paying one sum of money for lifetime. You may want to start tomorrow. You don't want to start next week. Think about the guy who paid me 3 years ago, took my course 3 years ago, or the guy who took the course a year ago and doubled his account. He took 95,000 to 180,000 or 190 something thousand he made. Was the 2,500 worth it? Think about that. He didn't only just make back his money, he made a lot of money, right? So it's the whole point. The earlier you join, the better. You can join anytime. For you to join the course, just send me a Skype message on my Skype. And let me type my Skype here. Don't send me on Facebook and email. I don't check those things. I really don't have the time for all of that. It's too much time. You notice I don't answer questions anywhere because it's going to take up all my time. So I'll type it. It's MANGAL457. Send me a Skype message. You'll get an answer as soon as I'm on Skype. If I'm on Skype, when you send me, you get an instant answer. And that's all. It will give you everything about the course, and then you can ask all the questions you want there. Let's go. Next questions. Aluminum. Okay, let's finish with all the questions. I'll do aluminum. I promise you that one. Some companies said they make more money using their software. That's crazy. No software will make you money. Forget about it. If that was possible, all the bigger companies and hedge funds would be using it. Please do a webinar about market myths. I will probably do one as soon as time permit. I promise you guys that. I'll probably try to fit in it during the practice session, when the guys are in practice session. Not this week, coming the next week. I'll try to do one of that. Thank you. Are lower time frames good to learn patterns? You can learn them in any time frame. How do you know when the right time to enter the trade? That depends on what time frame you're trading, what patterns you're looking at, what is the bigger structure, what is the strategy for that trade? Is it short term? Is it long term? All of that put together, you will know whether you have an entry amount. When you say take profit, how do you determine it? What is the right time to take profit? Depends on where is your target for that specific impulse. Normally, we go to the 270 and then we move over stops because sometimes it doesn't get to the 270, which is a 90% they go there. Only 10 out of 9, 1 out of 10 will not go. So you move your stops, you protect what you have, and then if they just break the low and turn, you're okay. Right? If they go to the 270, you take profit. I have downloaded information, the patterns from various sources. Is there a specific book? No, I don't recommend any specific book. It's not about the patterns. It's not about, because most of the patterns you read in those books, we will change them when you come in here. You're not going to see the same patterns here. Don't try to learn that stuff. Just read it to have a general understanding of patterns. Because when you come in our room, you will have a cultural shock, right? You will say, oh, darn, I read all of this and I learned all of this. And now, no, we just want you to have an idea of patterns. Because when you come in here, you're going to see things differently. Your eyes are going to open and you're going to go, wow, oh, I thought I read it has to do this. No, it doesn't have to do that. You read that in some book, that is incorrect. We are showing you what it's doing. You see, we show you in the live charts. We're not just theoretically saying, hey, it has to make 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3. If you try to read that book and trade, you lose your account. That is just giving you an idea that there are patterns. And then we show you the real patterns as they are. You are going to see them live. And remember, I do a daily webinar, which means you get to follow me on a daily basis, right? You get to see, we look at those patterns on a daily basis. So you're here for a year, you know the daily we're looking at these patterns and they behave pretty much the same way, right? When to look for divergence. It's not when to look for divergence, it's to look if there is divergence, right? We don't decide when there is divergence, we just check to see if there is divergence. It's two different ways of looking at the charts. When to move stops and how tight should they be? There's nothing like how tight your stop should be. You should move your stops when you're already in the trade to protect your capital. After there are certain things you need to see to move your stops. That depends on the strategy you're trading. Again, come back short-term, long-term. And where to put your initial stop is where that you will be wrong, which means if you're trading a flat, where would that flat no longer be a flat? Where would you be wrong about the structure you're trading? That's where your stop should be, because it tells you if it does this, you're wrong about that analysis. You need to get the hell out of that trade. That's all. So if you trade the way we trade, and I said, hey, I think this is a running flat, we need to sell here because it's going to go down. You need to say, hey, if this is not that, if it goes back up, I'm out of that trade because it's no longer running flat. It's doing something else, right? So that's what it is. How do you differentiate the candle when the chart is ready to go? I don't look at candles. The candle has zero significance in trading. It's just that we use it because everybody uses it. And for some people, it just looks nice. You color it and it's easy for them to understand, right? Basically, the candle has nothing to do with the candlestick. Is just a design. It's not a pattern. Could you please explain meaning to break top and bottom? Oh, it's patterns. That's what we look for, that break top and bottom. It has to do with patterns. Even my traders were confused at them, and then I showed them, and then they become easy. But that will be too long to show you here. I had to do a 1 hour webinar for that. Would the part on stop losses placement be? Yes, it is part of the course. It's the last class in the course, strategy and money management. Thank you for that blessing. I think I'm a lucky person. I think you've blessed me enough. I can't ask him for more. I really think I'm really blessed. I don't know. I hope so. There are people more blessed than me, but I'm very happy with where I am. So thank you for that. By the way, any more quote? So we'll call it that. I want to thank all of you guys for coming, and please help share the link and share the videos. Remember, if you share it, you're going to help somebody save their money, right? You're going to help somebody not buying stupidness. You're going to help somebody learn to trade the right way. And it's going to come back to you, right? It's always worked like that. Happy New Year for you if you're celebrating your end in New Year's, and everybody have a wonderful weekend if you still have time in it. I will see all of you next week, and I will see all of my traders tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for coming, and thank you for support. See all of you next week. Bye-bye. Remember, next week it's an hour earlier. Stop the YouTube live. Thanks to all the YouTube people for signing in.